Good morning, everybody, or anybody that's here. I guess what? I finally got the two screens working. Oh, so proud of myself. I did that all this morning. So now I can, if it gets mixed up, I apologize. I really am sorry. Like I said, I'm just getting used to this. So I want to do the case of Ohio versus Bionca Ellis. She's the one that unalived the 2-year-old toddler in Ohio at the grocery store and also injured his mother. We got the little boy's picture up there, so if we can say a prayer for him, that would be great. And his family while they're going through this. I know they're already into the third day, but this way we can go right through the breaks, lunch, get through the day, do an 8-hour day in like 5 or 6 hours. So, hi, Tony. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy to see you. I'm happy. Thank you so much for coming. All right, so we're going to start out with the defense opening. And then we got to switch videos because they didn't do it all in one video. So they did the defense and then I don't know which one did it first, the defense or the prosecution. I can't remember. And then we switch over and then we can go into the day, I assume. So, all right, let's get this party started. All right, let's go. Party on. Let me know if you can hear it.
She has no felony convictions. She has suffered from mental illness since the age of 22, diagnosed with schizophrenia. And Bionca has been treated on an outpatient basis at a place called Murders Taylor for almost 10 years. There's been a lot of ups and downs as it relates to her treatment. You'll hear from her mother, Yolanda Eggleton, and she'll come in and she'll testify the struggles of trying to get Murders Taylor to medicate Bionca. Because Bionca, when she's on her medication versus when she's off her medication, she's two different people.
No, I don't have it.
And she pushed hard for Murders Taylor to try to do something about Bionca being on medication.
And they shouldn't be mirroring.
And Murders Taylor's response was, she doesn't represent a danger to herself or others, so there's nothing that we could do. She'll tell you how she lost contact with Bionca over the course of 6 to 8 months prior to this incident. And I'll tell you that no one's going to dispute, the evidence will show that she's a mentally ill person. Between January of 2024 up until the date of this incident, June 3rd, 2024, Bionca was off of her medication. The medication, the evidence will show, stabilizes her. Bionca received a Social Security check. And what she did with that check was she traveled from the state of Ohio to the state of California. She traveled from the state of California back to Ohio and then down to Florida and eventually back to Ohio. During that time frame, there were many occasions where Bionca exhibited mental illness. There were occasions where she would go to a particular location and try to get herself arrested because she's living in a homeless shelter, because she's living on the streets. She's trying to find structure. I think the evidence will show that during her mental illness, she tried to find places of refuge, unsuccessfully. On June 3rd of 2024, this unfortunate tragedy occurs. Just a few days before, Bionca was in the North Olmsted jail.
All right, we'll hear more from the defense in just a minute. Let me bring in our guest for this hour, attorney and former prosecutor Randolph Rice. Randolph, great to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining me on this Monday. First and foremost, let's start with what we heard from the prosecution. Now, we know this is a case where it's not guilty by reason of insanity is what the defense is claiming. But the picture painted by the prosecution, very compelling. He basically said, look, she went and picked the knife that we seem to have here. Someone who has struggled with it over the years, has a diagnosis, someone who needs drugs to function in society, someone who was not on their drugs that day, and someone who does something. Because when you look at it from sort of afar, you take away some of the real tragic elements of it, the fact that a child was killed, a mother was stabbed, for no reason at all, no connection at all. It really is one of those things where it kind of speaks for itself. Who would do that except someone who was in a psychotic state? They have experts. They're going to go against each other. What do you make of that? This idea that there are the building blocks here for a case that could find success in NGRI.
Yeah, and this is going to be a case of the experts. It's going to come down to which doctor does the jury believe or which doctor do they give more weight to? Because as you said, it's these building blocks, this timeline, this history of the defendant acting in a way that will ultimately show that she doesn't understand the wrongfulness of her actions. And that's what the defense is going to have to prove here.
Yeah, and I think with all that history that we're going to hear, as you heard there in the beginning of the defense's closing argument, it's going to be very helpful to them in their case. Randolph, stand by. Before we go to break, I have an update for you in Texas, where a man originally set to stand trial starting today was sentenced to life in prison after pleading guilty. Just moments before his trial was set to begin, Darian Brown pleaded guilty to first-degree felony murder for killing 4-year-old Cash Gernon. A video obtained by the Daily Mail shows Brown abducting Cash. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala, now back to Ohio, where the toddler stab murder trial is underway. The defendant, Bionca Ellis, is facing multiple charges, including murder and attempted murder in the stabbing death of 3-year-old Julian Wood. Now, he was stabbed in the face and back while his mother was pushing him in a shopping cart in June of last year. His mother was also stabbed, but she survived.
She committed that
I am so sorry.
in broad daylight,
I forgot.
never trying to conceal the knife. And she doesn't run away. She walks away. Knife in hand. Still carrying the knife after this act is done. The evidence will show that there was no rational motive for her to have committed this offense. There's evidence will show that there's no relationship between she and the victims in this case. She still has a knife in hand at the time that the police confronts her. And she does drop it. Bionca's brought back to the police station. And eventually, she's interviewed. There's evidence of mental illness that occurred as a result of her responses in that interview. There's evidence that would show that she was irrational at all points of time. During that interview, while in the jail, even when she arrived in the county jail, sitting naked on the floor. Bionca displayed mental illness from the beginning of this incident, for the months prior to this incident, while in the jail. And
I think I got it figured out now.
You saw her at her arraignment. The evidence will show that even during her arraignment, she was still mentally ill because she was smiling at the arraignment. The evidence will show that she answered the judge in Spanish when being asked questions.
Spanish.
The evidence will also show that we had a difficult time communicating with Bionca. So much so that Dr. Sarah West became involved in the case. And she had to make an evaluation of whether or not she was competent to aid in her defense. And because her mental illness was still going on, Dr. West referred her to North Coast Behavioral. North Coast is a place where mentally ill people, they're there to get restored and for other reasons, but for Bionca's purposes, it's for restoration, to get her competent so she can understand this process. So after the competency evaluation, Dr. West was requested to evaluate her for sanity. And the evidence will show that Dr. West did evaluate her for sanity. She looked at all of her prior psychiatric treatment over the many years since she was age 22, her behavior on the day of the incident, and all the other information that she took into consideration after. And Dr. West made a determination that she was insane at the time of the offense. You'll hear that evidence. But the state has a right to have their own doctor become involved. And Dr. Knopfsinger also made his evaluation, and he made the opposite determination. You'll have to make that determination based on the evidence that's presented in this case. You'll hear from some other doctors that dealt with her while she was at North Coast. And at the end of the day, you will have to make the determination. And I told you in the beginning during jury selection that she acknowledges through her lawyers, whether she testifies or not, that she's responsible for the murder of Julian.
Wow, you guys see the picture, the surveillance video? Wow. That was big. That was a big, you know what? Wow. Poor Julian. Oh my God, he didn't stand a chance with that. He was so tiny. Oh.
Julian. She acknowledges through her lawyers that she's responsible for the attempted murder of Margot. There's no running away from that. That's not what this trial is about. The evidence will show, though, that it is obvious that she was insane at the time of the offense. And no matter what your experiences have been, you have to evaluate that information. That's all we're asking you to do. Lastly, I believe that at the conclusion of this case, you will find that Mr. Johnson and I have met our burden of a preponderance by the evidence, okay? A preponderance of the evidence, and that burden is far less than what the state has to prove. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's go to court now for the prosecution's opening statement.
The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that on that day, Bionca Ellis also was having an ordinary day. And you will see through the video that we will show you, ladies and gentlemen, and there are going to be witnesses. Witnesses from Volunteers of America. You will hear from witnesses from Giant Eagle. You will hear witnesses from the police department. For Bionca Ellis, you will see that she went to the police department on that day. She went to the North Olmsted Police Department. She had a conversation with a police officer at the window. And that police officer will come in and testify to their conversation. Bionca Ellis did not like what she heard at the police department, so she leaves. And the evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that she went directly to Volunteers of America. You will hear the testimony from Diane Spihar, who is one of the managers of Volunteers of America. And on that particular day of June 3rd, 2024, she was working in the back, sifting through stuff to put out for sale. And Bionca Ellis comes back. Well, the evidence is going to show through video that prior to going back to the Volunteers production area, Bionca Ellis had spent several minutes sifting through a bin of knives. And she chose 2 knives. You will see that, ladies and gentlemen. You will see her in Volunteers of America walking up and down the aisle. She had a conversation with Diane Spihar, looking for a bathroom. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that she left Volunteers of America and that she went to Things Outlet. And you will have the opportunity to look at that video. Bionca continued to go into the store. She looked around, and you will see the video of that. She didn't chat with anybody, but she leaves. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that as she leaves, there is a cement pillar. And I want you to pay attention, because she takes those 2 knives and she hits them against the cement pillar to see their pliability. One knife that she had stolen drops to the ground, but she keeps the 12-inch butcher blade knife in her hand. The evidence is going to show, and the video corroborates, that she walks in to Giant Eagle. And you will see through the videos, from the customer service angle, you will see inside the store where Margot Woods and Julian are shopping. You will notice, ladies and gentlemen, in the video, Bionca Ellis coming in to Giant Eagle, and she's got the 12-inch butcher knife. And she has it right by her side, and she's walking, and she's walking. And you will see in the video, ladies and gentlemen, that Margot had paid for her groceries. She had her hanging basket on her cart, the child in the seat of the cart, walking out, going to look at groceries and go home. I want you to pay attention to the video. As Mrs. Wood is walking out with Julian, and they're actually having a conversation, Miss Ellis passes them going this way. For lack of a better word to describe, she would be going west, and they are coming east. And so therefore, she sees them walking, and she turns immediately around. And she follows them all the way out of the store. And you will see that she is walking in tandem with them. There'll come a point in the video when you will see that she is walking faster, so she passes them. She stops, waits for them to catch up, and follows them completely out of the store. The cameras outside, ladies and gentlemen, pick up that Margot goes down one aisle. Mrs. Wood is going down the aisle where her minivan is parked, And the evidence will show that this defendant is right on her heels, walking right behind her. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show, the witnesses are going to testify, that they observed Bionca Ellis approach Mrs. Wood and Julian, and she goes and takes the knife and stabs Julian in the face. Miss Woods tries to fight her off. She stabs Mrs. Woods. And there are independent witnesses that were in the parking lot that sees her stand over Julian on the ground and plunge a knife into his back. And those are common, ordinary citizens that were there grocery shopping or going to grocery shop. Of course, screams were heard throughout the parking lot. People are screaming to call 911, and you will hear from Travis Bush, who sees the stabbing. You will hear from Matthew Stroud, who sees the stabbing and tells his wife to call 911. They all run over. You will hear from Cheryl Molaski. She's a nurse. She runs over. She's one of the first people that runs over, and she says that Miss Woods has that baby so tight that there is blood pouring out his back. She tells him, "You've got to put him down," and they start compression. You will hear from Miss McClaskey. You will hear from Miss Craven. They are both nurses. One is a pediatric ICU nurse. She relieves her. They take turns. The police arrive. Meanwhile, the other witnesses are going to testify that after stabbing that child, Miss Ellis, taking her knife that is now clad in red blood, and she walks away. Just walks away very nonchalant.
Why can't she just stay at the microphone?
Surrounded the parking lot. And they tell her to stop. She immediately takes the knife and throws the knife. The same weapon that she used to kill Julian. She's arrested. She is taken into custody. Police officers will come in and they'll testify to their life-saving measures that they tried to use on the child. You will hear from officers that took crime scene photographs. You will hear from officers, drone footage was taken of the area. You will hear from Shayna Gray from the medical examiner's office that'll talk about the trace evidence that was found and DNA. The DNA that matches Bionca Ellis. You will hear from Dr. Elizabeth Mooney, who's the medical examiner, an assistant medical examiner here in Cuyahoga County, who will tell you what the cause and the manner of death is.
All right, we'll pause it there and quickly turn to Florida for the Spencer hearing for convicted killer Jose Soto Escalera. Today, a judge heard final arguments from both the state and the defense before deciding whether to impose the jury's recommendation of the death penalty. Now, a Spencer hearing gives defendants a chance to present any additional evidence that could possibly alter
Okay, I'm trying to get to the thing here. I'm finally working with two screens and I keep losing the mouse. My doggy needs to go out. So, okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to take my dog out and I will be right back. I'll be on my phone.
And then the defense breaks down the defendant's background, explaining how she was not in her right mind in the time. We're watching opening statements in the toddler fatally stabbed murder trial of Bionca Ellis going on in Ohio. Let's go back in now for more of opening statements.
And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, you will hear from Dr. Stephen Nafsinger, who is the state's witness, rebuttal witness for this not guilty by reason of insanity. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Pateo and I have the burden of proof. We accept the burden of proof. The charges for you to consider in this case are those of aggravated murder, felonious assault, child endangering, attempted murder of Margot Wood, felonious assault of Margot Wood, tampering with evidence, and theft. Ladies and gentlemen, the state is confident that when you hear all the evidence in this case, and again, I ask you, pay attention to actions and to words. They're very, very important in this case. And when you do that, you will find Bionca Ellis guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for each and every count of this indictment. She knew what she did. She appreciated the wrongfulness of her actions. You be the judge of her actions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I don't think there was anything else for that day. So I think it goes into day 2.
All right, I'm stopping this at 7 seconds.
I don't know why we can't do it all.
I may not be able to pause like I'd like, so let's kind of talk as we go. What do we see on the screen at 8 seconds here?
This is Bionca opening up the door.
Okay, and is this a fair and accurate representation of how she appeared to you on June 3rd, 2024?
Yes.
And you described for us the wheelchair and suitcase that she had. Mm-hmm. Are these the items we're seeing on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to find day 1, guys.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Our Court TV cameras are in Ohio as opening statements are underway for the toddler fatally stabbed trial for Bionca Ellis. Now, she's accused of stabbing 3-year-old Julian Wood to death in the parking lot of a grocery store last year.
What I'm trying to find is the whole day. Why does Court TV do that? I don't understand. Here, I thought I had my life together. Okay, here we go. Day 2, the whole day. I am so sorry, everybody. And you know what's crazy is I just got brand new internet and it don't even act like it.
them going this way, for lack of better words to describe, she would be going west.
Of this event. So under close scrutiny are all of her actions leading up to the stabbing. Next, we'll look at the thrift store. That's where she went after the police station. We've got the manager of the store on the stand, and we're seeing surveillance video from inside.
So this is 20 seconds long. So this is the front of the store?
Yes.
Okay, and does this face Lorraine Road?
Actually, no, we face the inner part of the parking lot, the side of the building, going out of the building. If you go to the right, you would see Lorraine Road.
Okay, all right. So you are in a plaza area?
Yes.
And what else is next to you?
I don't know what the name of that store is. And then there's an empty, oh no, there's Planet Fitness. Then there's an empty store, and then there's Giant Eagle on the end.
All right, continue, please. So this is State's Exhibit 178. Does this video fairly and accurately represent Volunteers of America on June 3rd, 2024?
Yes, it does.
Okay. State's Exhibit 179. Just stop it there. All right. Can you look at State's Exhibit 179, which has also been provided to Defense Counsel? Can you tell us what we're looking at here now?
That is the production room.
All right. Is this the room that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And in relationship to this room, are you in this room when you meet this person?
Wait till the question's asked.
Yes.
You're in this room. Okay. Continue. This is about 54 seconds. We're going to stop right here. All right. Do you recognize anybody in this?
I believe that is her at the rear of the video there.
All right.
Just keep your voice up, please.
With the court's permission, is it that individual right at the very top of the screen?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the person that you had the interaction with?
Yes.
All right. Let's play that. State's Exhibit 179. I'm stopping it there. Now, are you in this video as well?
Yes, I'm at the rear as well.
Okay, and now we're going to back this up just a little bit.
It's not letting you do it for some reason.
Lion's break.
What's your question? So maybe Ms. Patel can move it there for you.
Does this fairly and accurately represent Volunteers of America, the production department?
Yes.
And that you were in this back room, are you the person that opened the door?
Yes.
All right, and when we're looking at it here, is this the individual we're talking about that you encountered?
Yes.
And that you spoke to?
Yes.
And that had a knife in their hand?
Yes.
All right, let's continue on then. So is there anything in the back there that she was looking for?
Just an emergency exit door.
Okay, all right. And then when did you talk to her?
I spoke to her as she made the bend. I asked her if there was something I could help her with. Again, it's very loud, so I repeated myself. She turned around and asked for the restroom.
And then she walks out. You open the door and she walks out.
Yes.
So the State's Exhibit 179 fairly and accurately represent your interactions on that day.
Yes.
All right? And State's Exhibit 181. Stopping it at the... What number is that? 182. Okay, State's Exhibit 182. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what is this?
This is the housewares.
Say it again.
Housewares in the rear of the building.
Okay. Is this coming out from the production department?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is this one of your employees
Yes.
that we see to the left of the screen?
Yes.
All right. Stopping it there. Is this the person that you talked to in the back of the store?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated this is the houseware aisle?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you store your knives?
In a plastic Tupperware type bin.
Okay. Mrs. Spihar, with regards to State's Exhibit 182, does that fairly and accurately represent the video on June 3rd of 2024?
Yes.
All right.
So her getting the knife ahead of time raises an interesting question. This could be a big fact that the jury struggles with. Does it go to premeditation, right? Does this go to her planning to do a homicide, as the state alleges? The defense alleging something very different, that she was not in the right state of mind to understand and appreciate the wrongfulness.
So I'm reading down there, as long as I'm streaming stuff from yesterday, I should be okay, because it says that the judge doesn't want you doing live streaming of the raw material. So I think I should be okay, right? God, I hope so. I've never seen that before in my life. The whole time I've been streaming or watching YouTube. Okay, so seemed like this is the way it's going to be. I looked everywhere else, and Court TV is the only one covering it. So I apologize. I really do. So back on.
Of her actions. As we head to break, I want to show you the victim. That is little Julian Wood and his mom, Margot. Stolen the knife that was used to kill Julian Wood. That is the
Redirect on those questions.
No, you're right.
All right, thank you.
Oh, it was a good question to end on right there. I loved that. Let's bring in our law enforcement analyst guest, Claudia King, who's been watching along since the testimony kicked off this morning, right around 9. Claudia, tell me, when we hear these facts, what does it make you think as a former police officer when you have civilian witnesses who could be seeing?
Indeed, on this side, I hear a scream. I look back, and she's just there. Yep, right down. Sir, do you have anything to do with this? I was going to say, I kind of saw a little bit of it. Come on over here. You okay? Not okay for anybody to see. All right. Name, address, their driver's license form. We'll take care of this. You want to life and you will go back. Thank you. Ventress, just tell me what I need to do to help, buddy. You got any more quick forms just in case? I emptied out my cruiser from stop before I ran over here.
Walking in tandem with them. She stops, waits for them to catch up, and follows them completely out of the store.
She's talking about defendant Bionca Ellis. This woman is on trial accused of the death of Julian Wood. And it's not a question of who did it. She did it. Her attorneys are admitting to this jury that she did it. But what they're denying is her legal responsibility under the law. They're saying that she wasn't in the state of mind to fully appreciate and understand the wrongfulness of her actions at the time. So it brings into question her mental state. And so the prosecution has to do some.
No.
Let's get you back in the courtroom now. A detective has taken the stand.
I am so sorry.
Stabbing patrons at Giant Eagle, and then that was like the initial call that had come out.
And how far away were you geographically?
I was probably approximately maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles from that location.
All right. And did you respond directly then to Giant Eagle?
I did.
Do you work with a partner?
As a detective, or on the day when I was working my traffic detail?
Well, I guess as a detective, do you?
No, as a detective, we help each other out depending what it is, but we normally work in individual groups.
June 3rd in the afternoon is a traffic detail. What's your answer there?
I'm sorry?
On June 3rd as a traffic detail officer, were you working with a partner then?
No, I was by myself.
All right. So when you respond a mile or two,
Yes.
Giant Eagle, what do you see when you come upon that store?
So when I arrived on scene, a number of my colleagues, I observed them working on our victims, Mrs. Woods and Julian Woods. After I observed that initially, there were several of our officers there. There was a number of detectives and officers from our neighboring city, Westlake Police Department. We, along with Westlake, myself and detectives from Westlake, then went into Giant Eagle because of the call had come out that there was possibly multiple victims. So we went in to clear Giant Eagle in search of possible victims, and we checked the area. Checked Giant Eagle, everything was secure and clear at that time.
Were you aware if there was a suspect for this crime?
At that time, along with the officers running, at some point in time, yes, while in Giant Eagle, it had come over that the defendant, Mrs. Ellis, was taken into custody.
And were you aware of the weapon that was utilized?
At that moment, no, but just briefly when I had observed, it was obvious that there was, either a stabbing or something to that effect. With the nature of the call when it came out that multiple people were stabbed, that was my insinuation as to what occurred.
All right. So after you clear the scene within Giant Eagle, what is your next step?
So after clearing that with the assistance of Westlake PD, I then made contact with, I believe her name was Nikki. She was the team leader or the manager working that day. We immediately go back to the back stock area of Giant Eagle where they have their video surveillance. I briefly, myself and Officer Petrie, who's our evidence technician, responded back there. She then started pulling up video, and at that time we were trying to establish a timeline as to when Miss Ellis had entered Giant Eagle, and basically forming a timeline as to what had taken place.
And were you in fact able to make that timeline?
Yes, and then during that short time, we were able to find Miss Ellis walking into the Giant Eagle through the south doors. At that time, you could see, you'll watch the video where she kind of circles around, walks towards the customer service area. After walking past customer service, as Miss Woods and Julian are heading, you could see that the defendant, Bionca Ellis, then observed them, because you could see the turn and how she kind of turned and looked at them and pretty much did a about face, then starts walking alongside them.
Yeah, no question. So go ahead, ask a question. Thank you.
So Detective, thank you. We're going to kind of back up and go through chronologically, if we can. So did you come to learn whether or not this defendant went to any other businesses before she went to Giant Eagle?
Yes, I had learned that during that time we were obtaining that. I was in contact with detectives from Westlake PD, who again were assisting us. They had told me that...
and how sustained? So...
All right, so I have a question. I've lost a few viewers because of this whole fiasco. But my question is, do you want me to stay on this trial and just work through the commercials and the court TV people? Or I can find another trial. There are a few that have started today, started a couple of days ago. Let me know in the comments what you guys want me to do, okay? Like I said, I really, truly am sorry. I should have known this with court TV.
What others told you can't be given here as hearsay. So I'll go back and let Ms. Patel ask you a question.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
What did you learn about the defendant's whereabouts prior to her going to Giant Eagle?
So I had learned that she had initially started from the Volunteers of America, and where she had selected the knives, then walked out with the knives. I had learned that after she walked out of the Volunteers of America, she then walked into Things Outlet, which is right next to it. Walked into Things Outlet, kind of stood there, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds, less than a minute. Walked out of Things Outlet. She's observed on video coming out of there. Taps the knives on a concrete pillar, drops one of the knives, continues walking from Things Outlet and continues into Giant Eagle, entering through the south entrance.
All right. So going back to Volunteers of America, when you learned that she was in that store, did you go to that store at any point?
I did. And shortly after leaving Giant Eagle, I did go into Volunteers of America, where I made contact with Diana.
Okay. And did you obtain...
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guest for this hour to discuss. Joining us now from Washington, D.C., trial attorney Joseph Camarata and law enforcement expert Sonny Slaughter. Hello to you both. Sonny, I do want to start with you as we watch this case unfold. So they're really not disputing the fact the defendant in this case is responsible for these actions, but what's at issue here is, was she insane? That's what defense counsel said in his opening. She was insane at the time of this. She did not appreciate the consequences, while his mother was injured but ended up surviving. Court there is currently on a break. So in the meantime, let's listen back to some highlights. This is from the state's opening statement, and that took place yesterday.
Opening statements, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of a roadmap of what we anticipate the evidence to show in this case. on June 3rd of 2024.
This is State's Exhibit 200. Okay, the bottom right-hand corner says lobby funnel. Again, we're going back in time a bit. What do we see on this screen, Detective?
That is the defendant walking into Giant Eagle.
And the timestamp in the upper right, left hand says 14:58. Does that seem accurate to you?
It does.
Would that suggest that she's only in the store for about a minute?
Yes.
We'll let this one play a bit. It's another minute.
It's Exhibit 200, correct?
Correct. Okay. Detective, at 1 minute, 6 seconds, what do you see on the screen?
Miss Ellis heading into the lobby area.
All right. And the timestamp is 14:59. So it's just a minute later, correct?
That is correct.
From her entering the store. Okay. Resuming play at 1:06. That time, do you see any other individuals come on screen?
Yes, and you see the victims, Mrs. Woods and Julian Wood.
Okay. Resuming play at 1:14. What do you see now?
And at that time, they are exiting the store with the defendant following the victims.
I believe there's only one more vantage point I want to talk about. That's State's Exhibit 209. This is the lobby exit. This one's probably the blurriest one. Can you tell what I'm showing on the screen, Detective?
And that's going to be the door camera, which would be to the north.
And what do you see
Exit.
on the screen here?
And at that time, the defendant is exiting.
Was there anyone else in front of her? Going back to 17 seconds.
And there would be the Woods exiting with the defendant following behind.
All right. Thank you for your patience, Detective. And just to recap, you are the individual who collected this evidence and entered it into the evidence for this case at North Police.
I did, yes.
And did you author a report based on the efforts you made in this investigation?
And I did a report regarding the video that I obtained.
Okay. And is it fair to say that there were other officers and detectives involved in this investigation?
There is, yes.
You're not the lead detective in this case?
I am not the lead detective.
Okay. So did your involvement then end after you authored the report detailing all the efforts you made with regard to the surveillance in this matter?
Yes.
Detective, I appreciate you answering my questions. I have nothing further. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Detective, did you have the occasion to interview anyone else in connection with this case?
I did have a opportunity with Detective Ventris, and we interviewed the defendant's mother, Yolanda Eggleton.
Okay. And do you remember approximately when you conducted that interview?
That was the following day, which would have been on June 4th.
Okay. And where did that interview take place?
And that interview took place at the North Olmsted Police Department.
Very good. Thank you, Detective. Nothing further.
Cross-examination? Are you going to use any of the video?
Yeah.
It depends on his response to that.
Very good. Why don't we just take that?
Let me know.
Do you want to take that one off the screen, but you'll just keep it up in the event it's needed?
Okay, we'll just put up.
Thanks for working together on this while we,
Is it okay if I stand right here, Judge?
perfect? Yep. Thank you for asking.
Detective Rollman, still good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You interviewed Ms. Spehar of Volunteers of America, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And what you learned as a result of your interview with her was that an African-American female came into an area strictly for employees only, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And Ms. Spehar never told you that she had any suspicion that the individual was a volunteer, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And she identified the individual coming in, and she asked if she could help her, but the individual ignored her. Is that correct?
From my understanding, that when she went back there, she basically stated that this was a restricted area. Yeah, how can I help you? This is a restricted area.
Okay. She also identified the fact that she saw this individual with knife in hand, cuffed.
Yes.
Okay. You had an opportunity to watch the video many times, probably by now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at no point from the time that Ms. Ellis grabs the knives out of the area that you described as the kitchen area, does she ever conceal the knives? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. In fact, she asked Ms. Spehar about the bathroom, if she could use the bathroom while she had the knife in hand. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you see her when she leaves that location, when she leaves Volunteers of America, she walks right by the cash register in plain view with knife in hand. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, as it relates to Julian and Margot, there's no prior relationship that you learned of with your investigation between Ms. Ellis.
Still with us, criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira. All right, Marie, listening to the cross-examination, talking about the defendant was going into a restricted area. So obviously he's trying to get from the detective that, she really didn't know what she was doing. She's not aware of her actions, especially at the time of the stabbing. And how do you think cross is going so far?
ROYSTON.
All right, now our jurors, I'm just going to do a sound check. Everyone able to hear okay? All right, then go ahead, Attorney Tony.
Thank you, Your Honor. How are you currently employed? With the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office. And what was your prior employment before the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office? Prior to working here, I worked for the City of Fond du Lac Police Department. And how long between all capacities have you been a police officer? Approximately 4 years.
Passing Ellis with their grocery cart when Ellis then turns around and begins following the pair.
Yeah, before we get you back into the courtroom now, just to get you caught up on this case, if you're just joining our program, here's Court TV anchor Julie Grant with more on the case against Bionca Ellis.
I'm at North Homestead, Ohio, Giant Eagle. Someone just stabbed a kid and a lady in the parking lot.
Chaos breaks out in the parking lot of a Giant Eagle grocery store just outside of Cleveland, Ohio on June 3rd, 2024.
There's a child. He's bleeding all over the place. We're at North Homestead, Giant Eagle.
Margot Wood was shopping with her 3-year-old son, Julian, when they were attacked by a knife-wielding stranger.
The young child suffered 2 stab wounds, one to the face and one to the back, and then she suffered one to her shoulder area.
Julian died of his injuries, but his mother, Margot, survived.
I need a car to go help the kid. These are the first couple aisles.
Where's your cuffs? Get cuffs? Who's got cuffs?
33-year-old Bionca Ellis was arrested on the edge of the parking lot where the stabbings happened. A long blade knife was found on the ground near where she was cuffed.
Did she say anything?
No, I didn't hear anything. I had my windows down. I didn't hear anything. All I heard was just screaming, and the lady grabbed her child up out the cart, and that's when it fell over, and they collapsed over here, and the lady just continued to walk off.
Police say Bionca Ellis stole a knife from a nearby thrift store. Surveillance video shows Ellis walking into the grocery store with the knife in plain view.
It was very, very upsetting that someone would do that to a child and their mother.
As Margot Wood swerved her grocery cart to avoid running into Bionca Ellis, Ellis turned around to follow Margot and Julian out of the store, the whole time swinging the knife by her side.
As a mother, I cannot even begin to fathom the sense of loss that this family is going through.
Ellis is facing multiple charges, including murder, attempted murder, and felonious assault.
Have you received and read your indictment? I don't know. You don't know if you've received it?
She was found competent to stand trial after her defense team requested a mental health evaluation. This after her behavior in the courtroom raised questions about her ability to assist in her own defense. For the family of Julian Wood, they'll never get over.
Say that Ellis followed victims Margot Wood and her 3-year-old son Julian out of a grocery store. This was in North Olmsted, and then attacked them in the parking lot. Julian suffered fatal stab wounds while his mother was injured but did survive.
Inside of the courtroom now, we are listening to a 911 call that was made by an eyewitness. The husband of that eyewitness is on the stand.
She's stabbing somebody? Said you can start referring to your house in 90, but we have several cars on you in 9 gas and blender. Do you have a description of her?
Yes, she's a black female. Yeah, I know her. She's walking towards 4
Oh, she's outside now?
She's outside walking.
Okay. This is going to be a black female walking towards the radio with a knife. All black? Is anybody injured?
Now, in there, we heard Ariel's voice and we heard another male's voice. Is that your voice, sir?
Yes.
And were you also providing information to your wife to give to the 911 operator?
No, I had the windows rolled down in the car and I was screaming to others in the parking lot to exit the area. I didn't want anyone else to be injured.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Continue.
Yeah, somebody's injured. I think somebody happened in one of the
Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
Okay, let me keep you on the line. Don't hang up, okay?
Okay, we're not hang up.
Yeah, just stay on the line for now.
Hold on. I got it. The black female wearing all black, walking towards the window, red leggings, black top, she got the knife with her.
Have you sent in, what else does she look like?
She's a black tall female wearing black leggings, black t-shirt. She got two legs from Silver Center on the window. She's walking on. She's learned on my way.
Okay. 10-4 for a minute, now she's walking towards Julian. Okay.
Yeah, like, stop right there.
Ma'am, don't hang up the phone, I'm just gonna keep you on hold, I got a ambulance heading there, okay?
So I need to call the ambulance, you're heading to 51.
Now, after your wife contacted 911, sir, at that point in time, once she hung up with 911, what did you do?
Well, we followed the female until she was detained by the police.
And how did you follow her?
I was in my car, and then as I felt I had a good amount of distance from her, I got out of my car and pointed the police to her, and then re-entered my car and went back to go help the boy.
Okay. And Mr. Stroud, so you indicated to us that you saw the actual stabbing.
Yes.
All right. And so were you able to see the knife?
Yes.
All right. And can you tell us how many times that you observed her stabbing or who she was stabbing?
It was 2 or 3 times. I don't recollect exactly where those locations were on these individuals. I just saw the motion and saw the blood and the knife as it was happening. Okay. My eyes were more drawn to the knife than anything else.
Okay. And when you followed her, did you have an opportunity to observe this person walking away?
Yes.
All right. Was she talking to anybody?
No.
How would you describe her walking away?
Like she was walking in the park.
And
swinging the knife like she was almost just knew exactly what was going to happen.
All right. And so when the police arrived, were you still standing behind her?
Yes.
And what did you observe her to do?
The police pulled up and, drew weapons on her and she just dropped the knife and she didn't fight or resist at all. The police just got her on her knees and then down to her stomach and put her in handcuffs and detained her. Actually, I don't remember even handcuffs being put on her at that point, but they had detained her. And at that point, once I realized that she was no longer a threat to anybody else, that's when I turned back to try and assist those who were injured.
Okay, so did you get back in your car?
Yes.
And where did you then go?
I parked just outside of the aisle that this occurred, and I got out to go help, and as I got out, I realized that I had actually blocked the entrance for the ambulance, so I sprinted back to my vehicle so that I could make way for the ambulance to come in, and I went back to the original scene.
Okay. And when you went back, sir, what did you find? What did you observe?
There was a small boy who had been badly injured. There was a female on top of him giving CPR. There was what appeared to be his mother, who was also injured, but not severely, and was just begging. She kept asking if he was breathing.
I want to point out that witness opted out of being shown on camera, but an important witness for the prosecution. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Marie Pereira. Marie, so from a prosecutorial standpoint, and we're trying to say, here, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, defense counsel changed the strategy. At first he said just not guilty, then they changed it after an evaluation, not guilty by reason of insanity. So here you have a situation where the prosecutor said in opening that she was mad because she had an altercation with police, walked away from that situation, and then that's when we see surveillance video of her buying these knives. Not guilty by reason of that insanity. On the stand now is someone who was a bystander who rushed in. She was actually a pediatric nurse. So we already had a registered nurse on the stand. This one is a pediatric one, Rachel Craven. She was in the grocery store parking lot that day. And in Ohio, she is someone who is allowed to opt out of being on camera, but we will hear her voice during her direct examination.
Describe for us where about you parked your car to get into before you went to the store?
My car was closest to the volunteer store, so.
Okay, so if I gesture to the bottom part of the screen.
Yes. Sorry, I was looking at the other side.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I cut you off, but I cover you with questions as we go. So
That's okay.
Park your car. Are you alone or are you with someone?
I'm alone.
Okay. And you hear this person telling people to get out of the parking lot. So do you ever make it into the store?
No.
All right. So what happens then when you go back to your vehicle?
I had seen a crowd of people run one way and then a few people go another direction. Once I was in my car, I decided to drive my car the 2 parking lanes forward to where I parked. In several parking spaces next to me, there was a woman on the ground with a sliced tank top, a tipped over shopping cart, and then a child on the ground with a woman performing CPR already. I got out of my car.
Hang on a second. Take a deep breath. Next question.
Okay, so you come upon this scene, and do you say anything when you come upon these people?
Yes, I divulged to the other nurse that I was a pediatric ICU nurse and asked her if she wanted me to take over.
And how did you know she was a nurse?
I didn't.
Right. So how did you come to learn that she was a nurse?
I think after the fact.
Okay. And you asked that person, do you need relief?
Yes.
Okay. And was it at that point that you did, in fact, start rendering life-saving measures to this child?
Yes.
Okay. And did you talk to anybody else?
No.
And tell us a little bit about the life-saving measures you did render.
I did chest compressions. I could not tell you how long for. And then at some point, someone from the store came out with an AED, so an external defibrillator. We put pads on. It did not identify a shockable rhythm, and I continued CPR until the police came.
And in your training experience as a registered nurse, did you have concerns for the well-being of this child you were treating?
Yes.
Did there come a time, well, let me ask you this, when did you leave that area and cease your life-saving measures?
I believe it was the police department came up. There was a gentleman that screamed for everyone to back off. So I got up, I stepped away, he secured the scene, and I stayed at my car.
Due to the efforts that you made, did you ever have blood on your clothing after rendering these measures?
Yes.
What did you do directly thereafter?
There was one police officer who was putting tape around the scene. I had went up to him and I had let him know that at some point I had thrown my sunglasses, that those were mine. I did not need them back, but I wanted him to know that I performed CPR. He had advised me to wait by my car, and another police officer came over.
Were you pregnant at the time?
I was 36 weeks.
Did there come a point when you talked to the police about what you did that day?
Yes.
And you may have just described the extent of it. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Did you
Correct.
ever go in for a formal statement or interview?
No.
Okay. So after these efforts that you described and your interaction with the police, was there anything else you did connected to this case?
No.
Yeah, one more.
Sure.
That's great, and I appreciate you answering my questions this afternoon. I have nothing else.
Any cross-examination of this witness?
No questions, Ms. Craven. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You may step down.
Thank you.
Just a sidebar for
Another snippet there from inside of the courtroom of a witness on the stand in the case against Bionca Ellis. Let's bring back in our attorneys who are standing by. We have Michael Jaffer and Madeline Somerville with us. Michael Jaffer, we're going to continue to see people taking the stand like this because this happened in a public place. That adds so much of an aggravation to a case like this.
Examination by the state.
Let's talk about June 3rd or June of 2024, prior to your promotion. What was your shift then?
So that day, it was a lovely sunny day. I was at Chestnut Elementary School. I was going to be doing the school guard at that time to make sure just children were able to cross the street prior to the incident.
Okay, so it was one of like a school outreach program or?
The crossing guard, they didn't have one at the time, and I offered to go ahead and go over there and help with that.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you were on duty, but you were working in that capacity.
Yes,
on June 3rd.
I was still a patrolman, but I was just helping with that.
Okay, and as a patrolman then, what were your duties and responsibilities under that title?
The same as a supervisor of patrolling the streets of North Olmsted, interacting with the public, making arrests where they are applicable, or at least detaining individuals to investigate if a crime has or has not occurred.
Now, although you were acting in the capacity as a crossing guard on June 3rd, right, in 2024, did you still have a radio on your person?
I was fully equipped with just the same gear I am equipped with today: radio, my duty service weapon, handcuffs, flashlight, taser.
Now, in court today, of course, your radio is turned off. Is that
correct?
While you were helping the crossing guard duties on the 3rd of June, 2024, did you have your radio on?
Yes, I have my radio on and working.
Okay. And were calls coming through as you were helping at the school?
Yes.
And was there a time where a call came through that directed your attention?
We had a call for service at Giant Eagle in North Olmsted, across from the police department, that there had been at least one stabbing, and the suspect was still at large and last walking eastbound.
And how do you respond when you get such a call?
With a call like that and the possibility of someone being seriously harmed or loss of life, I use my emergency lights and siren so I can respond there safely, but as quickly as possible.
So fair to say you ended your crossing guard duties at that moment you got that call?
Correct.
Okay. And you were working alone that day, right?
Correct. I ride one man, just me, myself, and my vehicle.
And how long approximately did it take for you to get from the school to the supermarket?
I would say approximately 30 seconds or less.
So it's right around the corner?
It is. I was pretty much almost at the complete west side of North Olmsted.
Okay.
But I got there, like I said, as safely as possible.
Were you?
All right, let's bring back in criminal defense attorney Laura Yaretzian and criminal defense attorney Dwight Williams. Dwight, let's start with you. This officer responded. He's just now getting into the details of, I'm sure, what he observed, what he saw. And I want you to tell me, what are you thinking about as a defense attorney, especially knowing there's an insanity defense in this case, of what types of questions you might want to ask him?
Well, I definitely want him to portray my client as someone who was unstable. So I've been asking him questions about, well, when you arrived on the scene, what did you witness as it relates to the defendant? What did you see her do? How was she acting? What did she talk to you? How was she talking to you? I believe there was I think there will be some evidence in the case that she may have been started to speak in Spanish to these officers, even though she's a native English speaker. So it's those sorts of questions that get into the
murder trial against defendant Bionca Ellis.
She is claiming the insanity defense after being charged with murder and attempted murder in the stabbing death of 3-year-old Julian Wood at a grocery store last June.
Surveillance video shows Julian and his mother, Margot, passing Ellis with their shopping cart. As you can see, she kind of dodges out of the way. And when Ellis turns around, she then begins to follow them.
Julian was stabbed in the face and back. He died later at the hospital. His mother was also stabbed, but she did survive.
Them all the way out of the store, and you will see that she is walking in tandem with them. She stops, waits for them to catch up, and follows them completely out of the store.
Back now to Cleveland, Ohio, where we've been watching testimony in day 2 of the toddler stabbed murder trial.
The defendant, Bionca Ellis, faces multiple charges, including murder and attempted murder. And
that's it for day 2. They just talk for the rest of the time. So I'm gonna close this live down and come back with something else. This is really upsetting. Like, I am so discouraged with myself right now. I didn't realize it was gonna be like this. I am so sorry, because I really wanted to watch this, but I think they're doing this for a reason. All right, I'll be back with a different trial. There's one in out of Florida that seems really good. So, all right, I'll be back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and don't forget to comment. Thank you.